Hello. Hi, Christopher.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So,
Aha.
Laurie's in Finland, and it's around 10 o'clock p.m. her time. So she may not be joining us. I do not have her proxy. I have Robin's proxy. She's not joining us. I have John Delancey's proxy, and I have Marnie's proxy. Let me see if Julia has responded. No. And Michael Crowder is not coming. I have not heard from Francis. Um, Looks like Ro is asking me to send her the link again. So let me just do that real quick. Uh, Hold on. Okay, I'll tell her I just sent it. So I have not heard from, dear. I haven't heard from Ian. So let's see what the count is. So I've got Robin, John. Oh, and Andrian can't make it. She just told me yesterday. So I only have 3 proxies. Oh, I'm sorry. Michael gave me his. So I have 4 proxies. Okay, plus us, that's 3. And so that's, oh, good. Someone else is joining us. Ian, yay.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Ian. And Francis is here. Great. We were just taking a count. Hi, sweetie. You look wonderful. Nice
And
to
so do you as always, Margaret.
thank you. So let's
Hi
take.
there.
Hi, Ian.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everyone.
Hey,
So we have 5 plus the 4. So that's 9 people altogether since I have 4 proxies. So I think we have a quorum, don't we? Is it a quorum 3/4 of our board, right?
I think it's 51%, isn't it?
51%?
No. Ooh. Dan, do you know?
I don't actually I'd like to get a copy of the bylaws so I could, we could, look at answer questions like this.
Okay.
I think
Annie
it's,
Laurie has those.
I think it's a majority, but I could be wrong.
That's why I was saying it's the 3/4 rule.
Uh,
So
well, how many total board members are there?
I think I'm looking for my board list. I,
um,
Well, from the email, it looks like there's 12
yeah,
that
that
he
sounds
emailed.
right.
So if we've got 9, then that's 3/4. So
Yeah, that's exactly 3/4.
I
Yeah,
can't imagine if
Exactly.
it's more than 3/4 required for quorum.
right.
I agree. Okay, very good.
We're good?
So-
Okay, because yeah, I won't worry about that.
Okay, so we will check off the quorum. And did everyone get a chance to look at the 2023 meeting notes that were sent around?
Yeah.
Yes.
And did anyone want to make any changes or improvements?
So,
I thought everything looked pretty good. I corrected a few things that were just spellings. So shall we approve the meetings from 2023?
So moved.
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Did we have a second?
I'll
I guess,
second.
okay, good. So the motion was to approve the 2023 minutes. Ian seconded. We had a small discussion and Christopher Cameron moved to have it voted on, and we all said yes. Oh, does everyone know that this is being recorded? So that
Yes.
Laurie can look at it later on. All right, one down. All righty. And then updates on financials. Again, that was sent ahead of time.
Mhm.
And did everyone get a chance to take a look-see?
I did a while ago. The link in the minutes isn't live, so I couldn't go, and I couldn't find it on April 4th either. But I'm looking at one from April 7th from Annie.
She just sent a message on April 19th that has a Google Doc.
1831621.
Hello? Sorry, say it again? Yes, speaking. Hi there. Thank you very much. I can't talk now. I'll have to call later. All right, thank you. Okay. Bye. Okay.
So I didn't see anything in the expenditures that was of great concern, only that we didn't get a lot of donations that would have been helpful. Because when we put on our fundraiser event in January, it cost us almost $1,000, but that day we only got in about $600. And so we're hoping that the distribution of the recording link will generate more donations as it gets circulated. There have been donations coming in recently because of the television show that I did with Laurie and Zenos and Dan Barker. And that generated a couple thousand actually. So we're pretty much caught up with breaking even on the fundraiser that we did and then making some. But it brings up a good discussion about any changes that we might want to have in our budget for this upcoming year, 24 to 25. I will not be able to put on the January fundraiser event. I'll be in Australia. And in June, I'm going up to New Rochelle. Of course, I always take information with me when I go to New Rochelle, but that's their thing, that's their event. So they should get all the fundraising there in New Rochelle. But I do want to go up there and represent the Monument Project. We have a big poster up there already. I'll be there to answer questions about the monument and to show some possible sites in that we have a meeting with the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. on May the 1st. And that will be again at the AECOM location in Washington, D.C. And it will only be open to the executives of the Thomas Paine Memorial Association, just to keep it brief and concise. And we also have an event that night that we are attending, that's been arranged by Jamie Raskin and Congressman Jared Huffman. But if you are in the area, let me know. If you want to be in Washington, D.C. on May the 1st, I'll see what I can do. All right. So, anybody have any questions about the financials?
I do, and forgive this question, I guess. Because I'm looking at this email from Annie that says basically we have 42,000 in the bank and the $50,000 CDs, so we have 90,000 less the 60 that's owed. What's the situation with the 400,000?
Right. We have to show the National Park Service that we have money. And in fact, we're kind of worried that that's not going to be enough to show them how serious we are about this adventure. I'm glad everybody's sitting down because we recently discovered that the Peace Corps has put up a monument nearby to one of the sites under consideration for us. And that monument cost the Peace Corps $6 million. And when we saw that during a phone call with AECOM, we said, gee, that's an awful lot of money. And he said, this is the average, below average, in fact, cost of a monument in Washington, D.C. And so we're kind of taken aback by how much money this is going to cost. Robin's very hopeful. Laurie's hopeful but scared. I'm hopeful only if a couple of things fall into place, such as getting an honorary ambassador and seeing more of donations coming in when we do have events. My hope lies in those things. We also are going to owe money to Xenos regarding the statue. He's been holding on to this statue. Bronze keeps going up and up and up. And what we could do is give him enough money to reserve at a certain cost bronze, which, would be very smart of us since bronze is going up. But the other thing is that to make money, you have to spend money. So one of the ideas was to create a statuette that could be given to donors of $500,000 or more. It also, I think that we could raise money with visits. For instance, I could go down to talk to the Washington Post about the importance of the monument. We could do many things like sponsor Ian to do his play in various locations where we know there's money, Silicon Valley. You have to invest the money in order to make the money. So those are things I need all of you to think about and put on your thinking caps. But I want to be honest with you about what we know.
Margaret, is it possible from the Peace Corps to get their, well, not budget, but what is the 6 million? I mean, that's...
Well, and all they're building is a marble circular bench that has hands on either end as if they're hugging, or reaching out to each other. And it's a park. It's going to be a park with a bench. That's it. No water feature. And so when we ask for a list of what expenditures we might have to expect, each site has a different kind of expenditure, but it's a list like landscape architects, engineers, landscape designers, electrical engineers, excavating. The list goes on and on and on. And when you look at the list, you say, okay, well, let's say $100,000 to each of the people on this list, because I don't know what they're going to cost us. I do know we have some things to talk about with our two favorite sites, and what could happen there. So I think we're going to know a lot more after May 1st. I think the National Park Service is going to give us a similar list of what we have involved in each of our particular sites. And this is not going to be an easy road. I must say that getting an honorary ambassador is not going to be easy. Getting people to contact friends to ask for donations. Jamie Raskin needs money to be reelected in his campaign. I can't imagine him wanting us to take money from him. I mean, that's not reasonable. So this is all on us. We've got to really, really start riding the horse hard to get to the finish line.
So I have another question. That where did the 400,000 come up as I mean, there was that aim to raise, and then Todd said, whatever you don't raise, I'll take it up to the 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
I, in my naivety, thought that was the cost of the project.
Mm.
But we're talking an increase of 15 times or something. But
Yeah.
what was the 400,000? Where did
That was a pledge from that's the maximum that Todd will be giving. I talked to him about the benefits his family would have if he donated 1 million. The benefit being that anyone who donates $1 million gets their name on the monument for 10 years. That's a rule. And I had hoped that Todd would consider that, but he said, no, there's no way.
But I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that the idea, somehow the figure came up that what we needed to raise was 400,000
Mm,
early on. And
Is
then
that for the
after
consulting?
raising 50 or 60,000, Todd said, I'll take it up to 400.
Mhm.
And I thought then we'd raise the money we need.
yeah,
But
I
what-
think I think
what was
that's
that 400?
I think that's before. I think that would have been a statue, and probably the surroundings of a statue, like the base and a couple of benches and so forth. Well, we're not in that category right now. Right now, we are looking at prime Washington, D.C. property. And they have certain things that you have to do with that property. And then you have to have money for maintenance beyond the time that you put your monument up. So it's like a bond. You have to have
Yep.
future bond. So we're learning so many things as we go through this process. And one of the things hit us hard was this is not going to be an easy project. And we only have 5.5 years. We can get an extension if we can prove that we have at least half of the actual projected cost of putting in a monument. And that would be about $5 million. So, you know, if we have $5 million in 5 years, we will then be able to say we would like an extension. And then we have another, you know, couple of years. Or remember, we had 7 years, but that was from the date of December 2022. So
Yeah.
we've lost almost 2 years. Yes, Dan.
Yes, so we'll probably need a professional fundraiser here.
Yes.
That's on
And if you look on the agenda, you'll see that I've got fundraiser ideas by Rosalie Fridakis at 2:45.
Mhm.
Okay. And I can call her in earlier than that if we, you know, skate through the rest of this.
Mhm.
So let's back up and I'll put a motion in to accept the review of the expenses, which included a budget for 2024. And if everybody has read those, would anyone like to have a second on that?
Yeah, well,
Okay, Christopher Cameron, seconds. Do we have any more discussion to take place about this?
Well, I have a question.
Yes,
If you say 6 million, you have to have a breakdown of what makes up the 6 million when you go out to raise funds. You can't just say, we want to raise $6 million, boom. You need to say it's this much for the statue, it's this much, those things you were listing. Now, so we either need to have to me, you have to start by getting the budget of what you need the money for.
oh, yes,
Which is why I thought maybe the Peace Corps could give us a copy of how they spent their money. I mean, they're a non-profit.
yeah.
They don't have anything
Yeah.
to hide, I don't think.
And we have an advantage in that Zenos is friends with the person who sculpted the bench out of marble. So he'll be able to give us that for sure.
So I think people are going to say, well, wait, you put down $500,000 for this? That doesn't sound, I mean, whatever it is, landscaping, or people are they don't just give money. They want to see what the money's, I mean, I raise money on such a tiny scale, but even then, I try to always say, this is what you'll get, even if it could be minute, but I think, and I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I now feel completely ignorant of the entire financial situation because I thought we'd raised the money we needed. I thought the land would be free and the 400,000 would pay for everything else.
Yeah, I wish it were true. And I'm going to know a lot more after May 1st.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So the meeting with the Parks Department will be very educational for us all. I wish you could be there, Ian. It'd be great to have you. Any chance?
No, I don't think so. It's too far to go.
Well, I can promise you by actually I have to, I'm leaving on my 50-year wedding anniversary cruise the next week after May 1st, so I probably can't get the information out until June.
Mhm.
And but we'll have a really good report compiled by then.
Okay, so I believe we had a vote coming up.
Yes, thank you, Christopher. Called for the vote. I say yay, and I say yay for the 4 proxies I have.
And you get another one here.
Okay. Francis.
Yes, and me too.
Okay, and Ian. Was that a yay, Ian?
Yes.
So noted. And now we are at, we're about 5 minutes ahead. Okay, so updates on monument site availability. Did everyone get a chance to look at the two sites that we sent information about? No?
I-
Oh,
I
okay.
did
No,
take it.
there was a list you sent out. And
There were written reports.
Sorry.
One was from Laurie Gaylor about a triangular site near the Capitol. And then the site that I sent out, that I wrote up a list about, was actually at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, and across the street from the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History, on the mall, well, actually across the street from the mall. So we had two sites to look at. Dan was so helpful when he went with us to see both sites. We actually narrowed it down from 20 sites to 4, well, 6 and then 4. And now Laurie has her favorite. I have my favorite. I was hoping everybody had a chance to read information about the two. But if you haven't had time, that's fine. You can read about it later. We're not taking a vote. I just wanted an opportunity for everyone, if they had read the descriptions, to weigh in as to which one they liked the most. Christopher, did you get a chance to look at the two descriptions?
I did not. I'm sorry. I usually file away all the emails. I'm just not seeing it in any of the messages that I've
Would have
gotten
been
over
an
the past
attachment.
couple of months. Do you happen to know the date?
I'm sorry, I don't. I would have to go in and look. I can also resend everything. After the meeting, I'd be happy to resend. Are you having the same problem, Ian? You couldn't find it?
Correct, but even just from what you've just said,
Oh, I see it here. Okay.
what date is it?
Let's see. The original email was from Annie on March 28th, and then Margaret responded on April 7th. And in that, there's 4 attachments. And then descriptions of the site by the
Well, actually, it
Capitol.
would have been a master with both Laurie's and mine.
I've got it. Downey site selection.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, let me
So what we did is we each wrote arguments as to why one site should be chosen over the other. We also tried to list some pros and cons in the description. So just for your reference, if you want to get back with me before the May 1st meeting with the Parks Department to let me know, do you like this one versus that one? I can go to that meeting on May the 1st, knowing which one of the board members likes one or the other, and for what reasons.
Yeah.
I will definitely.
Okay.
If I may summarize, and I'll try to do so in neutral terms, even though I have a favorite, the site in front of the Museum of Natural History of American History is an outstanding site. It would be in front of a wall in front of the museum between that wall and the sidewalk. And it's a very highly traveled place where tour buses park, people meet to go to the museums. There's lots of foot traffic. It's a good place to have we'd have to carve out a special area with the retaining walls and other fixtures, with a statue which I would expect would have to be about 7 feet. Do you think
At
that's
least.
reasonable?
At
Yeah,
least.
at least. And it the current thinking is that we would have the statue forward, almost encroaching on the sidewalk there, so that people be walking by. Does that sound like
Now, we were talking about doing an amphitheater.
right?
He's more at the end of the cutout where he'd be looking like he's speaking, addressing the people in the amphitheater.
Okay. Margaret is very enthusiastic, as so are a couple other people in our group, and about this, because it's an excellent opportunity for education, educating the public about Thomas Paine. Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
Well, also, each museum is visited by millions throughout the year. And we are thinking that it would become a really good spot where people would say, not necessarily meet at this museum or that museum, but meet at the Thomas Paine Monument.
Mhm.
And we would use colonial bricks for the style. I think it would be an easier sell to donors that it is such a prominent location right on the mall. The National Mall is across the street, and the opportunities of education are just supreme. The other site has utilities on it, and it needs a lot of work to hide those utilities. Plus, we must keep the utilities accessible for maintenance. So that's going to be difficult as well.
I'd like to briefly describe the Capitol site, and what I see are the pros on that one, and that one is that it's a great picture opportunity, especially if Thomas Paine is facing away from the Capitol towards the public, and it would be a good launching point for rallies, for causes of various interests. I like the site because it would accommodate a larger statue, more grand, more impressive size, scale.
It would have to go up in scale.
Right. And to address the infrastructure issues, I would imagine that there would be ramps leading up to the statue, leaving underneath the ramps the infrastructure that would not be, it would still retain access to the infrastructure beneath the site. And Zenos is very much in favor of that one. It's the idea, and you've expressed this too, Margaret, is that we believe that Thomas Paine is of equal importance to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson in the founding of the Republic, and so it's instead of just having a museum and then the statue and then another museum, that we have an imposing statue on its own right, in a picturesque spot. But it's true, the con is that it's not at a heavily traveled place, or as heavily traveled position as the Smithsonian site. So that's really, I think, you think that's inadequate?
Well, yes, and I would add that there is no parking around there. All of that, remember where we parked the van to go see it, that's restricted parking. They parked there illegally. It
Right.
was for tagged personnel only. It's across the street from the federal, is it?
It's a parking lot.
Yeah, okay. It's whew. Yeah, there's no stop signs or lights that you actually, it's like a circular traffic.
Mhm.
And so I think it'll be hard to get to, but it's across from the back of the art museum. But so it's not, from a side, it's not nearby a side entrance to the art museum or the front entrance. It's in the back. And I think there's a federal courthouse. Yeah, there's a federal courthouse on the other side of the street. And so, attorneys would go out there and sit, plaintiffs, defendants. I don't know. But when you mention the Capitol, you can only see the Capitol if Payne is big enough and only his face would be seen with the Capitol in the background. Otherwise, if someone was standing next to the statue, you would miss the dome of the Capitol. You have to get an angle, a certain angle, to get that Capitol in the background.
Mhm.
Now, when you read about the pros and cons, there's also mention that Congressman Raskin, Laurie envisions Raskin holding press conferences there.
Mhm.
Well, I've been to Washington, D.C. lobbying, and our Congress people have very little time to get stuff done. They're not going to walk a mile and ask CNN or Fox News to walk with them to this site to hold a press conference. It's not a feasible thing to do. So that's another reason I'm not in favor of it. Granted, he wouldn't be able to walk and have a press conference at the National Museum, the Smithsonian, because that's a little bit further. But I don't expect the monument to be used for that. I expect the monument to be used for educational purposes.
Mhm. I think these issues, certainly these issues that you raised are certainly, we have to look at if that ends up being the site, that we'd have to address those issues and perhaps apply infrastructural changes to accommodate those concerns you voiced. I would be thrilled with either site, to tell you the truth.
That's what
Um,
Zeno said
yeah.
recently.
Yeah, and it's possible that it's out of our hands. To choose between them is we'd have probably would need the Smithsonian to sign off on that site as well. So and if they don't want it, then then
But
they would.
remember, that
Oh.
property is owned by the National Park Service.
That's true. That's true. But the Smithsonian probably we would think might have some say in the matter,
Mhm.
having a statue in essentially in front of its property. So those are the two issues. It's probably out of our hands. But we have passionate advocates for both sides.
Can I just throw in, I mean, I will definitely read the document and get back to you.
Mhm.
But just from, my first reaction was Thomas Paine was a man of the people.
Mhm.
He's not a politician. He didn't like politicians. He didn't get on with many politicians. And the only one he really got on with in the end was Jefferson. His letter to Washington was almost as bad as his rights, his Age of Reason to Americans. So my instinct is he should absolutely be outside a museum on the mall where people are walking past. He would want his words to be read by as many of the common man and woman as is possible. And this is having, I have to look at the sites, but he would not, people who are wanting to take a look at the Capitol building would not interest him nearly as much as people who want to go to the Museum of American History. But those are the people he would want. That this, wherever it is, this should be a people's statue, not a political statue, even though we want it in Washington, D.C. for political reasons. I feel that strongly. Now, it could be that if I saw the two sites, I would want the site nearer the Capitol. I don't know, but that's just my feeling in terms of whatever site he's going to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. For
I
that
completely agree
reason.
with that.
uh,
And
for-
I was
yeah,
also
sorry.
just going to quickly say that while I certainly know that all of us appreciate what Congressman Raskin has done for our organization and for this effort, he might decide next year that he's done with politics, right? And he wants to retire and go do something else.
Really? He said that?
No,
No, no,
no, but
no.
I'm just saying any politician at any time could say, you know what, I'm just done with this. I'm good, you know. Maybe he wants to go be a professor at University of Maryland, who knows? Or lead the whole institution. But I just wouldn't pick a site for a monument that will hopefully be there for a very long time because of one of our chief supporters who we don't know how long they're going to be in that particular office. Or, I mean, maybe he gets appointed secretary of whatever, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Congressman Braskin hasn't weighed in on this issue. He's probably not even aware of the choices that we
Well,
were.
actually, I just saw him
Oh,
a few days ago,
oh,
and
good.
I only had a few minutes to tell him he wanted an update after he hugged me and gave me a nice kiss. And he asked what the status was, and I told him we have a meeting with the National Park Service. We have two favorites that he said, well, tell me quickly which ones. And I said, there's a triangle, and then there's a spot in front of the Smithsonian. So his eyes lit up, and of course he says, oh, education, fabulous. Now, whatever, I will see him again the night of May the 1st. Right after our National Park Service meeting, we're going to go to his party. So that it will be very interesting to see what information we get from the National Park Service and what we can tell Jamie.
Mhm, mhm.
It might
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
and it might not be till June that I write all the notes up and submit everything to Jamie before we get his opinion on which one is his favorite.
Yeah. Pertaining to Ian's comment about the accessibility, Thomas Paine, I totally agree for that reason. I think there should not be a pedestal. We shouldn't have people looking up at this person lording it down on us. So that's why so I think it would be a good idea to, if we had the triangle site near the Capitol with these ramps leading up, that people would be uh, directly accessible to the statue, as would be the case at the Smithsonian site, because he'd
Well,
be
actually, it
he'd be
would
at
be
ground level.
an amphitheater where he would be at the level
Mhm.
addressing people sitting
Right,
on these benches.
right, right. So that is a matter of concern.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So Ro is going to join us in just a few minutes. Was there anything else? Francis, did you get a chance to look at the literature?
Just like a few minutes, that was it. Yeah, you're talking about the sites, the actual
Yeah.
sites, right? I'd only just looked at it. That was it.
Okay, so you don't have
A
opinions?
firm opinion, yeah, not yet. I feel
Yeah,
like I'd have to see them as well, too. That would help a lot. Just
I think
actually,
you do. Yeah, yeah,
I wish you were all with us. When we go there.
yeah.
Okay.
I for the honorary ambassador wish list, I'd like to add Bruce Springsteen, and I don't know if Patti Smith has the gravitas of, but then again, Larry David, I don't, so, but Patti Smith is,
We're going to talk about more
yeah,
about that
yeah, okay,
after Rosalie, because that's basically what she's going to be talking about, is various ways to fundraise. And then I would like to talk after Rosalie about the honorary ambassador candidates and how many of you can help us reach these people. And also adding people. I see us trying to get, corporations like the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, these organizations do like to give money for worthwhile causes. And this is a monumental effort, once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, I had a few ideas for them as well too.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
I'll bring that up later.
Okay. Okay, I'm telling Rosalie that we are ready for her and she'll log on. Now, everyone, Rosalie Frudakis is the business manager for Zenos, and here she is. Oops. Well, I thought she was here.
She's coming, I think. She.
Oh, I
name-
saw her name.
Yay!
Is she there?
Yep.
Ah, there she is. Yay. Hi, Rosalie. Hi, Christine.
Hi,
Hey.
we're having a little sound issue, so I can't really hear you very well, but can you hear me?
Very well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Margaret, I love your hair. It's really nice. With me is Christina Van Ham, who is our studio assistant, and she's going to be working on this project with us and take whatever it is we say and bring it to Zenos if there's anything there he needs to know about. Does anyone have questions for me? Has anybody even read this thing I sent?
I did.
Sort of. Yes, not every word, but
Christopher, did you get a chance to take a look? Did I lose Christopher? There he is.
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Oh, good.
I'm not sure why I've got so much of a sound issue, but I'll just pretend I'm hearing you. Okay.
Do you have some kind of plug-in that should not be plugged in?
I know we've been through this before, and I forgot until I just got on just now. But I guess what I'll do is just walk you through this very briefly. The preliminary funding plan is just the very beginning of what will be a larger and more complete document, but you have to start somewhere. So this is where we're starting. And in your own time, you can read this. It's, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but the fundraising strategy is in two phases. The quiet, that's most of where everything happens, is the quiet phase. And then the public phase, when you've got enough ballast that you want to present yourself, and get some public relations work going interactively, so that there's a synergy between fundraising and the promotion of the work. So that's really the first important thing. I'm sure the writing here will change as we all begin to work on it. And when I'm talking about the goals, it's pretty clear that we don't have a budget yet because we don't even have a site. So we don't know what's possible. A more generous site might give us more opportunity depending on funding. A more intimate site would have to be less, but say more with less. Clearly, we want to have, beside the sculpture, I'm thinking we should have the Liberty Tree and educational documentation, of course. So there's all that. The timeline is really key because you want to be able to present to your funders that you're going to achieve the vision within a timely manner. Although we can get an extension on the project, it's better if we don't have to, if we can get it done sooner rather than later. But in a way that meets everyone's expectations. We don't want to rush to get something done that's incomplete. So there's that. The funding plan informs your case for support, and your case for support also, informs your funding plan. So there's that. We're, I think building your supplementary board in whatever way you choose to do it, with honorary committees and additional historians that reach a different constituency or a larger constituency, is always, I think, is a good thing. In addition to the names I've given you on the last page for possible, I'm going to jump around a bit, possible historians and other folks, like Bill Moyers and Ken Burns, people who respect history and really resonate with it and can get behind what it is that we're doing. I came up with somebody named Heather Cox Richardson, who I'd never heard of before, but
Yeah.
very popular with young people. I mean, I don't keep track of historians, and she may or may not be of interest to you, but her social media presence is profound.
Oh, she's
Yes.
So we would like, I think, to be able to reach as large a supportive audience as we can, and hopefully younger people will be as supportive as the rest of us are once they learn about what we're doing. So the whole idea for a fundraising plan starts with the pyramid model. Usually your larger gifts are at the top. You get them secured in your private funding section of what you're doing. And then when you've got your larger supporters blocked in, then you go for the smaller funders, because it's going to be much easier to achieve that way. I think that, and beside broadening the support, I think finding a fundraising figurehead would be really a good idea. There may be someone on this list on the last page that someone knows better than someone else and maybe can be convinced to be a fundraising. Tom Hanks figureheaded the World War II Memorial. We didn't need, when we did the Air Force Memorial, we didn't need a fundraising figurehead because we had a monster board behind. It was a military memorial, so we didn't need one. But I think it would be lovely if we could find one for Thomas Paine. I have some ideas on the last page. Some of you may know of other people. And also, I just want to mention responsible stewardship. When you have wonderful people like Jamie Raskin and Todd Steifel who come forward and support this, you want to thank them graciously. And that's where special gifts come in. We have Christina put together for me this photograph of a relief of Thomas Paine that's on another sculpture that Zenos did. We can frame it, we can cast it in an intermediate material. It can be something that hangs on the wall. It can be something that's propped up with from the back with a, I don't know what, but it's a lovely thing for Margaret or some group of folks from your organization to come forward and give to someone as a gracious thank you. And I think, I mean, Todd, I don't really know if that's something he would like or if Jamie Raskin would like it. There are also things like this for smaller donors where you have an object, and I don't know if you can see this terribly well, but it's an oval. And we could do an oval that had the likeness of Thomas Paine and something written on the back about Thomas Paine and individualize it to the donor and encase it in something where they could prop it on their desk. I first saw this on my uncle's desk. And he was a lawyer, and he was very proud of it. He had it right out there in the front so anybody who came in would see it. And I think that we can do a series of things that would be not terribly expensive, but something that you come back to people and take care of them and say, we really, really appreciate what you did, and here's an update on our funding. Here's an update on our progress. I also wanted to show you the value of having a letter with someone's signature on it. This is a letter ghostwritten by me for Warren Berger's signature for a show we had in 1986. He was a sculptor. He sculpted as a hobby. I called his office. I asked if he would write a letter of recommendation for our show. And the assistant got back to me and said, he wants you to ghostwrite it. And if he likes it, he'll sign it. And he did. And we did. I took it to Pew Charitable Trusts with our grant request. And this in 1986 got us underwritten for our exhibition. It was a landmark exhibition in a museum. And it was in celebration of the Constitution. So a letter with the right signature can really go very far. And so these are some things for y'all to think about. Little tools in my toolbox. I'm trying to think of anything else that I've got to show you. Any questions?
Well, I, for one, love everything you showed us. I'm thinking that there would be levels, so like that bronze might be for $100,000 donation. A statuette could be for 500,000.
Yes.
And then go on from there as far as
Well,
the levels.
actually, I was thinking for Jamie Raskin that a 10 or 12-inch high model of the small original Thomas Paine would be appropriate because he'd put it in his office. He'd look at it. The other value of this is they're going to be thinking about you all the time. When they see that, every time they see it, he's going to think, that Margaret Downey, boy, she's really.
No, TPMA.
So,
Anyone who comes into his office would
Can
see it.
see it. Right.
exactly. And,
It would
they'll say, oh, what a groovy sculpture that is. And he gets to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what's that? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, any questions for me?
Well, I run a very, very, very small nonprofit. I'd like you to come and work for me, please.
I've done this most of my adult life. It's endemic in the arts. The person who knows how to type, that's the person who has to do this stuff. So I'm not the sculptor, I'm the person who types, and that's how I got started doing this.
Great.
Nearly 50 years ago. The other thing I wanted to suggest as part of what I was hoping to offer is sometimes organizations benefit by working with other larger organizations as an umbrella. And I don't know if this is going to work for you. It's just something to think about. Philadelphia Foundation is incredibly blue chip. When you say Philadelphia Foundation in Philadelphia, everybody goes, oh yeah. So what I'm thinking is if the Thomas Paine Memorial Association and all of y'all came together and went under the umbrella of the Philadelphia Foundation, you would have, it's like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They have a reach that is profound, and they have a program for promoting smaller organizational things and their missions. Thomas Paine spent time in Philadelphia. I think that it would work really well for them, but I don't know. I'd have to be in touch with them. I'm just throwing this out there as a possibility. They have a lot of constituencies. They've been around for a very long time. I think over 100 years. I could be wrong, but what they would do is they would promote what you do. They have newsletters that go out to philanthropists and funders, and I have the feeling that if we can get in their loop and they open their opportunities up to us, some people will come back to Margaret and say, hey, I didn't know you were doing this. How can I play a role? It could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have to decide whether you want that person involved, or maybe it would be like the Pennsylvania Historical Society. I don't know. People who don't know what we're doing, who should know.
Mhm.
And all those folks have funders. So I would think Philadelphia Foundation could be very interested in what they're doing. And they also offer grants of their own. So the worst thing that could happen is that they could say, well, gosh, we have too many folks that we're working with right now, but if you submit a proposal, we'd like to consider you for a grant.
How can we do that, Rosalie?
Well, I have to look into it. my friend Pierre used to work for them, and I used to know Heather who ran this program, but they both moved on. I'm just tossing it out as a possibility. I'm not going to take any initiatives until somebody comes back and tells me what they want to do, because I'm not going to move in the wrong direction. This is,
And you've come up with some really creative ideas, not only in this document, but we previously talked about hiring someone, Tina, who I know and love, who works for you as well, and to help us get these connections and help us write grants and help us find connections. So
yeah.
I'm very interested in not only getting that help, but paying for the help, because we can't expect everyone to do work for us for nothing.
Well, Tina's doing immigration law at the moment, but she did used to work at Pew and she worked at William Penn, and she's been in grant making and grant writing on both sides in multiple countries around the world. I mean, solicited to come to Sweden and Australia to set up fundraising programs. I can always have her ear, and I can always do the groundwork. That may be the best way to do it. I don't really know any other people who work at her level. I really don't.
Yeah.
For those of you, I mean, I've told Margaret this, but she was solicited to come to Sweden to work for Queen Christina and Benny Andersson of ABBA to set up a musical college above the Arctic Circle. She raised $20 million for them. If she can raise $20 million for a musical college above the Arctic Circle, I think she could raise money for this. She's crazy about what you're doing. She loves, the whole idea. And Thomas Paine is a big, fan of hers. I know how to reach her. We're always on the phone with each other all day long, talking about a bunch of stuff. I can always ask her advice and guidance. I also have my own posse. Fran McNeil is my mentor. She works for Goldman Sachs. She works out of the Wharton Center for Business. And Maury Tahirapour works out of Wharton. She's written Bring Yourself. She's a negotiator. So these two ladies are my mentors, and I'm grateful for them. And I'm also, it's past 3:00, so I'm going to turn into a pumpkin now and go away. Thank you for hearing me.
You've given us a lot of food for thought, and we really appreciate the enthusiasm you have for the project. You go above and beyond at all times, Rosalie, so thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yes,
And
thank you for hearing me, and I'll catch up with you another time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Did I miss this? Because I thought it started at 2:00 and I thought this was 2:00. Did I miss an hour?
Yes, that's okay.
I looked it up.
Hi, Annie, Laurie.
Hi.
Nice to see
Helsinki is
you.
supposed to be 10:00.
Oh, my time is up. You have to go.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
2:00.
wait
It's
a
not
minute.
2:00 Central.
Okay.
Yeah, nice to see. Well, I'm so sorry. I was very looking forward to this. Oh, well.
Well, we're in the agenda all the way up to after Rosalie's presentation, and looking for my notes.
And we did talk about the treasurer's report and that we don't have very much money, right?
You can catch it on the recording later, yes, Margaret?
Yes, we recorded it, Annie, Laurie, so you'll be able to see what happened before you logged in, and so I'm sure all of you will take a look at Rosalie sent at a later time, and if you have any questions, we can always connect with her again. She gave us a lot of things to think about. We've already gotten to the point, Annie, Laurie, where we're going to start discussing the honorary ambassador candidates. And just in the last few days, I've added some names, but let's take a look at One Contact Away. And as you can see, I put who the contact might be. And if you're curious, the contact any celebrity is actually a service that I used to use 10 years ago in hard copy. The booklet was really big. Now they're all online. And we saved a lot of money by getting FFRF and CFI and the Free Thought Society to chip in for that expense. It was only 167 or 197, I can't recall, but we all shared in the cost. So that wasn't an expensive an expensive thing to buy for what we need it for. So I see that I've added Jack Fruckman, a historian that wrote a book about Thomas Paine and a former professor in Maryland. I also added the name of Chris Finnan, Finan. I'll be sending you a new list after you've given me some names to write down as well. He's a historian. David Rubenstein, that was given to me by Robin, and she said that Jamie Raskin probably knows him. And I've also added Weird Al because he is a very educated person about history, and I have a direct contact with his drummer. And I added Bruce Springsteen just this morning on the recommendation of Dan Brin. Anyone else, Dan?
Yes, Harvey K, who
I was gonna say that.
this guy really gets it. Yeah, I really love this book. He understands Paine's enduring effects on American thought throughout the whole time, and yeah, just love him, love him. I see Robert Altman on this list. Unfortunately he's passed away.
Yeah.
The director. And Richard Dreyfuss is, there's an E after the DR. Let's see, Patti Smith, love Patti Smith, and her song People Got the Power is just an embodiment of what Thomas Paine spoke to.
Give me that again.
Patti Smith, Patti Smith. She is a poet and songwriter and singer, and she's adored by her bands. Well, I see Tom Morello, of course. He's a natural as well. He's from the group Rage Against the Machine. And he actually name checks Thomas Paine in one of his songs.
Yes, I did see that.
So as a matter of fact, I think Patti Smith, Tom Morello, and Bruce Springsteen would make an awesome lineup for a benefit concert if we could get them.
Well, that's a great idea. That's a really good idea. Richard Dreyfuss, did you say I misspelled something?
Yeah, it's a Drey.
Oh,
By
yeah.
the way, he is a neighbor of my brother's, so so that's a possibility.
I'm writing this down.
Okay.
Neighbor of Dan's brother. And that's in California?
Yeah, in Encinitas, northern
Encinitas.
San Diego County.
Okay. I just want to get 20 minutes with some people, face to face. I think I can convince a lot of people. I want to talk about Steve Carell. When I did some research, I found out not only does he have a history degree, but he used to participate in Revolutionary War reenactments as a fife player.
Nice.
So I think he would be wonderful, absolutely wonderful. He has no baggage. Everyone loves him. I'm going to try to see if John Delancey or Julia knows him. You know, we just have to get close to these people in order to make our pitch. So I put a star by his name simply because I found this little bit of information about him interesting. I think Francis wanted to add a few people,
Yes.
right?
I was gonna second Harvey K that Daniel had just mentioned. And by the way, he has connections with Marianne Williamson too. So that might guide us to other celebrities who might be interested.
Mary Ann.
Yes, Marianne Williamson. You know, she was just running for president, and I mean, for
Mhm.
the Democratic nomination, and she just dropped out. But she used to be also, I think, supposedly Oprah's guru, health guru. But
Oh,
she's
Oprah.
written quite a bit.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
And
So it's
yeah,
Harvey K, Marianne Williamson, possibly Eric Foner, although I'm not sure if he's as active as he used to be.
seems like he was pretty old when I met him.
Yeah, I think he's like 80 now or something. So maybe he might be too old. But another idea I had was, I know you mentioned Rage Against the Machine. The leader of Africa Bambaataa, because he's actually the one who came up with that song first.
Oh, yes, you're
Before,
right. You are right.
before Rage Against the
Who's that?
Machine. But
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
that?
Africa Bambaataa.
Oh, you're gonna have to spell it for me.
Okay. I had to look it up myself too. But I think they recorded that song in the 1980s. Let me just see.
Yeah. The Renegades of Funk.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my board members mentioned that during the January event.
That was me.
Yeah, no, one of my board members,
Oh.
Patrick Ennis,
Oh.
mentioned it. Yeah.
Well, and I should also mention that, you know, I mean, I've known Christy Hefner for 50 odd years. And
I've been wanting to pitch to her. She's brilliant.
yeah, she is. She is. And I'll be seeing her in late September at my college reunion. So I mean, I can't promise anything. I mean, we're that close friends. We were in a few college productions together, and and we see each other every 5 years at reunion time.
Okay.
But I'll broach this subject to her, and I don't know, maybe Margaret, you and I, maybe we could coordinate on that, and give me pointers on how to approach her on this.
Well, you need to stress that this is an opportunity of a lifetime, a monumental endeavor, and that, getting her name on the monument for $1 million for 10 years is something really special. And if she doesn't, balk at that, yay. But if she does, we could, talk to her about 100,000,
Yeah. And she has connections with the Center for American Progress.
And then that's the other thing we can hit her up on is, if you won't donate or can't donate, can you lead us to other people?
Right.
Yeah, I have a
So
few more ideas too. Sorry.
Are we going to wait till the funding plan I'm sorry, I missed the meeting. Google screwed up the time, but wasn't the funding plan that we were going to have like a template from Roe that we can use and personalize? Is that the plan?
Well, after May 1st, everything is dependent on what the National Park Service informs us needs to be done. Because we have no idea, we haven't received a list of requirements.
No, but
And-
in terms of if we're pitching these people for money, don't we want to have the ducks in the row?
We
I thought
have
that was
the preliminary funding plan that she went through. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
right, but she hasn't written it yet, has she?
Yeah. We went
Yeah.
through it just as you came
Right.
on the meeting.
Right, but the funding plan says we're going to have something written that we can give the donors. We're not giving.
Well,
Oh,
I read the
that
funding
I
plan,
think
but-
needs to be done by at least the executives of TPMA, so that we do have something that we can pitch.
Because you're only going to get one chance. So, we might want to find out if we can reach these people, but then before we reach them, don't we want to have this basic template ready, some photos and pitch? Okay.
I had some more ideas too. Actually, Jill Lepore, she has written on pain for the New Yorker, and I know that she's like a regular columnist for the New Yorker. She's one, and then there's John Nichols, who writes for the Nation.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
I don't
right
think
now,
he
her
has
name
any
is
money.
the editor-in-chief of the Nation, Kathleen. Is it Catherine or Kathleen? And I can't remember her last
Is
name
it a
right
K
now,
or a
but
C?
with a K. Definitely was a K. And she is the editor-in-chief of the Nation.
Mhm.
You're going to have to give me either send this to me written out, or you could
Okay.
spell it to me right now. Whatever you
Okay.
want.
And Susan Jacoby, of course, it's also
Yes.
outstanding.
I, I,
Susan Jacoby.
I have a question. Is this honorary ambassador, the idea is they would help to raise money, correct? So to me, there are different, there are people who could go to corporate.
Mhm.
There are people who, to me, Bruce Springsteen can appeal to 15 million people, right? Who would all give $10 each, maybe. But that could be a lot of money. There are also some people, I think we have to be careful about just going for celebrity unless they have a clear connection to a part of the public or a clear connection to some major corporations. Could be either. So,
And Ian, we can make up names accordingly. We can say honorary historian ambassador.
there's to me, Patti Smith would not be right, but God, she'd be great to do a concert. So you can also talk to people about, well, maybe you could. What about would you do a concert to raise money? And would raise a huge amount of money, and that's what she does. The one exception in my mind so far is David Rubenstein.
Yeah, I have him.
And I'm looking at who added him.
Robin.
Okay. Because I'm always wary of people who have a lot of money for pain. I would take Mark Zuckerberg off the list immediately.
Yeah, and Jeff Bezos. I mean, if they want to give money, great, but we don't want them to be our honorary
If he
ambassador.
was our honorary ambassador, I think I would have to resign along with Thomas Paine.
Yeah, I think there's people on that list that we could hit up for money
Yes.
that I would not want to be an honorary ambassador.
Okay, so I'll create a second list called money possibilities.
Yeah, so like Warren Buffett was, I'd see him as a money possibility.
What about Bill Gates?
Well, but hey, let me just finish. David Rubenstein is a money possibility.
Yeah.
He says he could take care of this with his loose change. But it's money to American history preservation. He's the chairman of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts.
Ah.
He's someone who, to me, maybe is a big money man who would have access to everybody, but has a real love of history. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg has a love of anything except spiritual communications in the world, which Thomas Paine would be really upset about. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Maybe we get David and we get Bruce, and then we.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, Ian. Great thoughts. Anyone else? Francis, are you going to send me those names?
Yes, I'm going to. I'll do that right now.
All right. And
So
we
did
improve the
Ro
list.
have an honorary ambassador in her funding plan? Because she had a very elaborate, she wanted this list of historians. I mean, maybe we should just go that route. Do we need an ambassador?
Well, it worked wonders for the World War II monument, you know.
See.
Yeah. It's I thought education wise, it would be supreme because we want to find in social media popular figures that can reach, even though the younger generation doesn't have much money, the goal is to educate them and find people that want to be a part of that. But I agree that, the younger generation really doesn't have the money to help us. So we shouldn't concentrate on finding an ambassador that's strictly appealing to the younger generation.
So Rose said in her funding plan that first you get the big money and then you go to the people for the little bits. We sort of did it the opposite. We started off with the little bit and we quickly realized it's not enough.
Mhm.
So, I just wonder if we should be looking at the historians too, or is she going to be
Absolutely. I
coming
love
up
the
with?
idea. They don't have a lot of money generally, but they can help us speak about the importance of having a monument.
Yes.
Give us credibility and give us endorsement letters.
Right.
We really need endorsement letters. Eventually, the National Park Service and some of those commissioners are going to ask, what is the public interest in this? So I think accumulating these endorsement letters is key to our success.
So someone like John Nichols is not a historian, but I would put him in that category of maybe he would be an honorary historian, publicizer type. I mean, I wouldn't see him, he doesn't have money himself and he's not got a big name, but he might write a column.
Right.
Yes, exactly. In the Nation, or if
I
there's
would see-
anyone,
Right.
yeah, in the
Put
Nation
him
or
on the
like Mother
history list.
Jones.
Yeah.
I've got
Those-
another name. Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton. I'm not really being
Yeah.
serious, but
Oh, I wish.
Parton appeals to so many. My concern with someone like John Nichols is that he's very much of the left. And that's how it's perceived, and he would appeal to left-wing Democrats, kind of. He would not appeal to right-wing Republicans or Republicans who might like Thomas Paine. I mean, this is off the top of my head. The thing about Dolly Parton is she appeals to everyone somehow. But I think that's the challenge. To me, well, I don't know. Heather Cox Richardson, I think, is an incredible historian. And she's not quite so politically identified, I don't think. But I think we have to be careful about alienating either the left or the right if we have an ambassador. Because
Yes.
I would put Heather in, I would ask Heather to be on the history honorary historian.
yes,
I don't think she has the level of contacts or celebrity that we would be looking for in an ambassador, but she has a daily column and she could help promote it. And that would be a small ask for someone like her. So I would see her in history.
written about Paine a number of times. I've been trying to get through to her for a long time, but she does love Thomas Paine. So there's that as well.
Who does?
Heather Cox Richardson. She's
Okay, yeah.
written about
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, I am wondering if maybe we might have, say, several different ambassadors appealing to like different sectors. Some, I think you mentioned this earlier, some to the corporate, some to like, say, universities, and then some to the media. And, we could certainly reach out to say, like, I guess more right-wing types who might be interested in Thomas Paine. Although I can't think of those people at the top of my head, but I'm sure that there must be a few.
Yes, I am definitely in favor of splitting these lists into categories. I love the idea, and I think we should do that for sure.
Yeah, even Newt Gingrich, even.
Oh, no. No.
Say that?
Well, he is a history buff, American history buff,
Ugh.
and
Yeah.
so
In his twisted way. So while I was in Washington, D.C., I was watching CNN or MSNBC, I think it was, and someone quoted Thomas Paine, and I did not recognize the person, and there was no little scroll to tell me who actually just repeated the words of Thomas Paine. And I was going to try to share screen and show you the person. That's not what I want to share. Well, I wish, oh, I see. I have to open something, right? Forgive me for not, can you see that?
Oh, yeah, that, yes.
Does anyone recognize this person?
Yes, he's on MSNBC all the time. Um,
Well, he
And what
quoted
show?
Thomas Paine, and I thought we could contact this person if I knew who he was.
he's a scholar.
Okay. Is it mentioned? No?
I'm sorry, because I don't watch TV anymore. I
Okay.
can't remember his name, but he's
It's
regular.
John Meacham.
Is it
John
John
Meacham?
Muir?
Yeah.
Is it John Mew? It is, okay.
Well, he would be a good historian person to put on that history board.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very much a media person. He used to be on Rachel Maddow regularly.
Okay.
I mean, let's say he speaks on programs
Okay.
quite often. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Thank
have
you
a
very
friend
much.
who's colleagues with him.
Oh.
A friend of mine is a professor at Vanderbilt, so where I guess Meacham is I don't know if he's there full time. It looks like I see distinguished visiting professor at Vanderbilt, so he might have some contact with him from time to time.
Yes, but that's good to know, Christopher. We would really appreciate that type of connection. So, I did a lot of Googling before the meeting to try to find these additional people. That's how I found Steve Carell and his background. But, I Googled actors who have been in historical films. I Googled actors with history degrees. So I would welcome any help that you might offer me in your leisure time, anyone, if you want to help Google some information. Because these are all hooks. The more we know about a person, the more we can hook them by saying, Steve, we know that you love history, you have a degree, you were in a reenactment with the Revolutionary War, and now we'd like to talk to you about a Revolutionary War hero. So we've got to reel these people in, with some kind of information. So once we put the list together, I would really appreciate help in getting these talking points, sound bites, in order to get the interest of these people that we outreach to.
You
So
know,
just-
one person who has popped into my mind right now is Jim Cramer of Mad Money. He actually quoted Thomas Paine.
Oh,
Yeah, the American Crisis Paper #1. And he might be interesting just because he talks about investing for the ordinary person. So who knows?
yeah. I know who he is. Uh-huh.
Isn't he the guy who launched the Tea Party movement?
No, he's
See?
not.
Oh my gosh.
No, he's definitely not.
But he's not the same guy. Okay, I guess
Yeah, he's not the same guy. He tends to be actually more left leaning than right.
Mhm.
But he tries to look centrist during his show. But no, he's definitely not a right winger.
I just thought
At
he
least last I remember.
I thought he tried to be crazy looking. Honey.
Yep, that's him.
What's his name?
Jim Cramer
Okay,
of
okay.
Mad Money.
Okay.
The guy was on the sound effects.
So
And
I
that
know I'm at
everyone
work.
can invest, everyone can trade stocks. It shouldn't be just for the experts. I thought, that's a very Tom Paine-like attitude towards trading. But
So I
yes,
think it's a little out of order, but I missed the presentation, but don't we have to talk about whether we're going to go forward with what Ro suggested?
Well, a
And
lot of people hadn't read the whole thing.
so do we have to have another meeting about it?
Well, I'm not sure it even really needs a vote, Annie Laurie. Do do we agree that we need help? I mean,
Well, it's not so much if it's just that I think like when page 5 of this, she's suggesting we have an honorary board, but she's suggesting a Friends of Thomas Paine, which are more historians or people like John Nichols. Don't we need to have a plan to move that going forward?
well, I've
And-
offered to break this list into several lists,
Well, I
accordingly.
think it's a very good idea. And there's just a lot of work to do here with this plan. So doesn't, I mean, we have to give her feedback, right? Don't we have to say yes or?
Well, we're going to take her advice. I'm just, I know the majority of people online with us didn't even get a chance to read it. And all
Oh, I
Ro did
see.
was go through just, a few points, and showed us some, gifts that she thought would be appropriate for certain levels. So I'd like for us to get back together, either via email, or
Okay.
another Zoom. But
Yeah, I just think this is such a big deal and I'm so sorry that I missed her presentation, but I did read it and I thought, wow, there's a lot to deal with here.
and May 1st is right around the corner, and we're going to have so much more information available to us that it seems like, actually taking a vote on something, isn't going to be worthwhile unless you feel like we need to show Ro that we're serious about following through. Would that help, do you think?
I think it might help. I mean, do people who hadn't read it, do we need to discuss it? She went off so we could discuss it, right?
Yes.
I just thought the whole idea of a Friends of Thomas Paine, which is different than our honorary board, was a very good idea. And these are some really good people to stick in it.
So your motion is to accept, the outline of Ro Fridakis, as a guideline for us to follow. And I'd like to second that motion.
Okay.
And then, we'll have a discussion. If you feel like we've already discussed it at length, we can go to a vote.
Can I say one thing? I think, Annie, it's good, the idea that we take that document and come up with our ideas about what to do next. So we can kind of try as a group to decide, is the first thing we do approach some historians? Or is it, because it's true that she has a lot of ideas there, but she doesn't have a specific plan. That's what you're talking about, yes?
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be for the board to then enact it or fill it in.
Yeah.
But it's a lot and we don't have very much time left. So I just thought and again, I apologize for having missed it, but it seems like we need to discuss it.
Well, I saw that everything there was more than helpful. And how fortunate are we that we have a sculptor who cares so much for this project that they're willing to go further into it with us by making suggestions, by offering, connections, by coming up with a plan for gifts. I think it's an opportunity that we need to support.
Well, of people who hadn't seen this yet, is there other thoughts that you have?
I
Other this one.
Yeah, I think the idea of using, this is a template for moving forward. I think it gives um, you know, some endorsement or position and encouragement without necessarily committing us to, a specific path.
Any further discussion? I move to vote. All in favor, raise your hand so we can see you. Looks like
That's
we have,
unanimous.
yeah, and I have proxies, Annie Laurie, for 4 people. I have Robin, John Delancey, Marnie, and Michael.
Now, are John and Marnie, aren't they honorary directors? Do they vote at this meeting or are they part of the board?
Well, because I wasn't hearing back from people, I invited them to be a part of it. So, they
Okay.
were kind enough to say, well, we're in Mexico, but we would be there. And you've got our proxy, whatever you want to do. So. Plus, once a year isn't too much to ask of our honorary board members to be, updated and give us their opinions, especially because we were talking about honorary ambassadors.
Well, I interrupted that whole conversation, so sorry about that. Because
No problem. I think you're very on target here. We needed to do that. Thank you, Annie Laurie. So we're going to be following up on this discussion of honorary candidates and breaking the list down, finding our pyramids, talking more about the suggestions of Roe. So keep aware that we'll be in touch with more information after May 1st. So we have something else on the agenda. It's Ian Ruskin to talk about board insurance.
And I'm still waiting to hear back from some non-profit type organizations. How this came up was when I set up my non-profit, a number of people who I invited to come onto the board said, well, you do have insurance, don't you? But D&O being directors and officers and general liability. And there were people who said they wouldn't join unless I had insurance. And I'm a very, very, very small non-profit. And the insurance costs about $3,000 a year at the moment from Philadelphia. But I don't think we have insurance. I'm not clear. I'm still trying to find out whether the fact that we are incorporated makes a difference, because my nonprofit is not. Am I incorporated, Dan? Dan is the chairman of my nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit, it's a corporation, California corporation.
So the Harry Bridges Project is a 501c3,
Yeah.
but we have insurance policies.
Uh-huh.
So that the board of directors, the D&O is so the board of directors could not be sued by some outside organization if the Thomas Paine Memorial Association promised to do something it didn't, whatever. Then the general liability is if someone gets injured while involved in an event put on by this nonprofit. That's my understanding of the policies. But I'm still trying to find out. I don't think they're legally compulsory, but I'm trying to get more opinions as to whether we should have it. It's not that much money, I don't think. So anyway, that's where I'm still trying to find out.
Ian, I've had the same questions when I've been with nonprofit groups, and there will be people who will not join your board if you don't have DOE.
Mhm.
But I've been part of boards that didn't have DOE for 40 years, and then when they got big enough, they did, especially voluntary boards. And I am going to reiterate that unless you've got a plan for how we're going to raise that $3,000 every year, I don't think we should enter it yet, because we're not doing anything that really puts us at jeopardy. We will be doing something that puts us at jeopardy when we start building. And then you're right, you want to have liability, you'll have to be insured for liability. But if you're talking about getting DOE and liability now, it's just going to eat up all our money. And, like we raised money for Thomas Paine last year from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, where we could let people do a drop down, and we only raised $7,000 from people who specifically suggested Paine. It's painstaking. And I don't know that they would want half that money to be going for insurance. They think they're paying for a monument.
Was that money
Yes, it was a
deposited?
pun. And it's up to the board. It's just that, okay, we have to start raising money, and that's not going to be the money that Rose's talking about. That's filling in from individuals, and it's been really hard. We have very little money coming in.
Well,
So as the treasurer, I would suggest we defer this for a year, but if the board is too uncomfortable, of course, there is some money. It's just that, it adds up. And once we start building or making commitments, if you have DOE, it doesn't mean you can't be sued. It means that the insurance company is supposed to take over. It helps protect everybody.
I mean, listen, I'm partly wanting to investigate this to see whether I need to be paying it on my tiny nonprofit. So it's not like I'm not, and I think I'm the one that brought this up, and I'm not saying I'm right, but I think I want to go on checking it out, because maybe I don't need it for my little nonprofit, but
Well, it's ideal.
And also, I think the one idea is that we would have an idea of a point at which, when we have a certain amount of money in the bank, we might then take out policies. I don't know. I'm not saying it has to be now at all. I'll go on investigating, and I'm just going to tell you all what I find. And then, yeah, I don't have any, I don't have a crusade here. Right.
Well, I mean, it is, like I said, it is ideal. I just think the chances are so remote at the moment. But once we start taking on, building, especially, we would have to have it and liability.
Yeah. Or if we're staging fundraising events.
Well, if they're big.
Live. You mean live
Yeah.
fundraising
Yeah,
events.
large ones like concerts and that sort of thing.
Right.
Well, then you also have to show you have insurance for then you have to have insurance, other kinds of insurance.
Mhm.
You're right.
But for me,
Unless the performers have it.
but when I perform at a college, if I ask someone to come up on stage and they fall and break their leg, I'm covered by the general liability insurance. So for me, it's more like live events. But that's kind of what Dan's saying. Again, we'd have to find out more. But if we started to do live fundraisers for this nonprofit, we'd need to look at that.
Yeah, I agree.
Do it before you have the money. But I'll see what I can find out.
Thank you so much, Ian. Very good. So, do we have any old business to take care of? I see no hands. What about new business?
I just have one thing I want to let you know about. I'm just talking about me all the time, but I did a couple of performances in Paris recently, and out of that, I was put in touch with, there's a thing called America 2026 in Europe, which is happening in 2026. And it seems to be quite a big thing involving England, France particularly, Germany, Netherlands, England. quite big scholars. They're having lots of conferences and things to do with the 250th anniversary of America. Anyway, I think they want me to perform the play, but it's kind of opening up Europe for the 250th, from my point of view, as well as obviously it's going to be a big year for Paine in 2 years' time, hopefully. But it seems like there's quite a lot of interest in Europe. I just want you to know that I'm really trying to pursue that. And I mean, obviously I'm trying to get gigs, but I'm also, it's a chance to really continue to take a story out to newer audiences. There are actually a lot of people in Paris who speak enough English to sit and listen to me doing my Thomas Paine play, which amazed me. But that's a whole new audience as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, that's out there.
Thank
Well,
you.
there must be something happening in this country.
Well, I hope so. Yes, I'm starting to work on that as well. Yes, I mean, there should be. I would like Payne to be. I'd like to perform it all. I mean, he should be part of this in 2026, big time, not just. Well, we all agree on that. And so
Yeah, I just don't know who to contact to put the bug in someone's ear about the
well,
importance.
there are organizations I'm going to go back to, but I mean, no one's actually approached me yet, but I think they will be interested in me doing the play, surely in Philadelphia and Boston and whoever. I don't know yet. But yeah, if anybody has any ideas, but I mean, I really want this to be, this is Payne's time to.
So I think I'll contact the American, the new museum in Philadelphia,
Oh,
the Museum of the American Revolution.
I've talked to them, I don't get anywhere, but yes.
Well, a friend of mine is on the board, Dr. Yeah, I can ask him. Okay.
Yeah, anyway, so that's, but especially since this project now is obviously a longer term project than I realized, because I thought, oh, the statue could be there for 2026. Well, that's not what happened. So that's okay. But then there are other things, but not just me, but other things that we can maybe think about doing.
Okay.
And it's to promote the statue as well.
Isn't the US government going to be doing something in 2020? I mean, there must be a bunch of things going on.
But whether it involved Thomas Paine is,
Uh-huh.
I'm sure
But I
that.
meant maybe there's people we can contact through that.
Yeah, because I'm sure that they're going to have fireworks and stuff, right? I mean, they're going to have events. Yes, yeah, you're right. In all over the place, you would think. It's big.
I have a friend who's an actor and he portrays Ben Franklin. I should ask him if he's been booked for anything for 2026.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Why did I have a lot of note taking here? All right. So does that conclude our new business?
I guess so.
Okay. Well, I can't thank everybody for taking the time. I can't thank you enough. I'm just thrilled to see all of your wonderful, enthusiastic faces, and let's keep up our positive attitude, even though we know it's going to be an uphill battle. But surely we can do this for our hero. The times hath found us. That was from Common Sense.
Why, Margaret, I see you have the Thomas Paine bobblehead in the background.
I do.
Yeah, I have one too. It's up there.
Oh yeah, very good. They don't make them anymore, and I tried to get
Oh,
them to
good for you.
special make them,
Uh-huh.
and they would only produce quite a bit. You know, we had to buy like a lot.
Oh,
Hi, Margaret.
Yeah.
Hello, Margaret.
Hello.
I'm-
Oh, Dan. Hi,
I'm crashing your party.
Dan. Nice to see you.
You too.
Hope
We're
you're
having
enjoying
fun
your
in Finland.
trip.
Oh yeah, we're having a great time. We were
Good.
out in a jacuzzi in the snow today.
Hmm.
That was pretty amazing.
That is wonderful.
that is a Finnish experience, that's for sure.
Well, isn't it funny? He
In the
jumps in
water.
right as we were finishing.
Yeah.
Yes, into the jacuzzi. No.
Nice to see you, Dan.
So remember that we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. We are going to do this monument. All right, everybody.
Great. Good for you.
Thanks for attending. The recording will be available soon.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.